Okay, it is recording. And camera on. All right, there you are. Yeah. Yeah, they are. Where's sound at? Oh, that's right. All right. Hey, can you find that box over here? They're gonna be able to hear everything, just so you guys know. I found the Okay, so we're at a different computer with a different setup here. So I just want to make sure everybody can hear me. Can somebody either say that you can hear me or type it in the chat box that you can hear me, please?
I can hear you.
Perfect. Excellent. All right, we're just waiting a couple minutes to get everybody in here, and then we'll get started. Video's working. Tyler, good.
Is that John I see in the background?
What's up, Tyler? How you doing, buddy?
Hey, John, how's it going?
It's
You
good.
you keeping Wayne in line?
What?
Are you keeping Wayne in line?
Oh, I heard something totally different. No, Wayne keeps me in line.
Yeah, well, me too.
Yeah? Nice. Good to see you, buddy. Absolutely good to see you.
You as well.
Thank you. All righty. So we're just letting some people in the last couple minutes. It's like we've got some people streaming in now. So what have you been up to recently, Tyler?
Working like crazy. We've got we're rekeying two of the largest buildings in the US right now, and they both decided to do it at the same time, so we're pulling hair. I'm going nuts.
Wow. That's cool.
Yeah, good problem to have though, huh?
Always good problem to have. So I'm making you co-host so that way you can do a screen share with whatever it is that you want to do and go from there. Let's see here. What else has been going on? You got an employee going now?
Yeah. Actually got a friend that's kind of in a lull. He's a part of the movie industry because of that Screen Actors Guild strike. He's looking for work, so we've been hiring him to help us with some of these larger rekeys. Got fortunate there.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. Other than that, I mean, my kids and wife are down in Disney World right now. I couldn't go because it's so busy. So got them at
Oh,
the house and having fun. I'll get y'all next time.
yeah, that happens. You get to pay the bills and they get to go have all the fun.
That's fine. I
I've
can
been
put in
there.
some 12-hour nights now.
Yes. Yep. And that's exactly what we've been doing, man. And get back from vacation and here we go. We're off to the races again.
Yeah. Good problem to have, though.
It is. It is. All right. So it looks like we've got quite a few people in here, 10 people or so. Got about 5 minutes before we get started. Do you want to give people a little background about who you are and what you do?
Yeah, sure. My name's Tyler Thomas. Own security engineering consultants here in Atlanta. We are a very weird company. We don't handle exit devices, door closers, electric strikes, access control, automotive safes, anything. We just specialize in high security and master key systems, specifically high security master key systems. So that's our bread and butter and pretty much all we do. About 80% of our work is handled in-house. What I mean by that is a customer will need something rekeyed or keys. They'll fill out an order form, send it in to us. We will fulfill the order, ship it by UPS, or if they need it same day, by courier. And their chief engineers, their engineers, property management staff will actually take that product and distribute the keys or either install it themselves. So we almost never go out to install anything.
Okay. So you've created quite a niche little pocket, if you will, for specifically what you guys do. It's all really high end, really complicated master key systems for very high end customers. Like banks and investment firms and just people that have a lot of money, right?
Banks, Class A real estate, government, but even some low level stuff. Well, I don't want to say low level like they don't have any money, but I mean, strip malls, restaurants, franchises like that. Yeah. So we'll
Somebody
handle
somebody
anything.
somebody that would order like maybe 150 locks from you as opposed to 5,000, right?
Yeah. Yeah. Or even one or two at a time. We're fine with that as well.
Yeah, right. Yep. And then we've done business. I've had you see, I don't like dealing with setting up the master key systems and doing all of that fine work. I would just rather call you and say, I need this, and you give me a price, and I add my time and material onto that price and then pass it on to the customer. And it just works out really well. I get all your stuff in the mail, I plug it in, it works, I'm done. It's very easy. It's an easy way to deal with secured work.
Yeah, we're getting more and more like that. Doing work with other locksmiths. Brian Ackerley up in New Hampshire sent us a lot of stuff over the years. Chris Huffstetler, out in Spokane. He's been sending us some stuff lately. We're getting more and more work from other locksmiths that just don't want to bother with it and say, hey, can we either drop ship you the product or you sell it to us and ship it out to us? And we're like, yeah, keeps us in shop. We're happy to do it.
Absolutely. Absolutely. So right on. Well, we are almost to 4 o'clock here, so we'll go ahead and get started at 4, right at 4. Looks like Mark Dawson's going to join us here. So that'll be good. Any other stuff going on just in general? What are you doing anything for fun? Hobbies?
Gardening.
Gardening.
It's June. I've got my second row of okra in, 36 plants. Planted them Sunday.
You grow your own. Grow
Grow
your
my
own food.
Oh yeah. Well, not all of it. Just nobody.
Enough.
Nobody in my family eats okra. It's just all for me. So
it's for you.
Yeah.
Wife, you don't eat okra?
No, the kids definitely don't. Nasty.
No? Nasty. Gotcha. That's definitely a southern thing.
You'll have to try it sometime if you haven't already.
I think I have. I've had fried okra and it's good. I like it. Dip it in ranch or whatever, but hell, you can fry a dog turd and it's probably going to taste good.
I'll take your word for it.
Yeah. All righty. Well, with that, we are going to go ahead and officially get started. I'm going to go ahead and let everybody in, make sure everybody's microphones are muted, except for Tyler's. Tyler J. Thomas is going to be our guest today, and he is going to talk about high security locking systems and how you can make money with high security locking systems. We're going to go over the advantage of having a high security locking system. We're going to go over versus, just like a common keyway that anybody can get key blanks to, that, what's involved with patented keyways, what actually defines a high security system, because a lot of times people have different views on what a high security system is. And we should all be on the same page and be using the same terminology so that we're all referring to the same thing. A restricted keyway is not a high security keyway, right? It's not a high security locking system. And a lot of times people get that confused. So we're going to debunk a lot of those myths. Now that we're officially starting, I'm going to go ahead and introduce Tyler one more time, and I'm going to have him tell a little bit more in detail about what he does and what his business does. So without further ado, Tyler J. Thomas, go ahead and unmute your microphone and tell us who you are, what business you run, and what you're all about.
Right as that, the phone rings, company phone rings. Yeah, as Wayne said, we specialize in high security master key systems, or any sort of master key systems. We're in Atlanta, Georgia. Name of the company is Security Engineering Consultants. Kind of lucked into this by happenstance. The company did. This company's been around since 1968. I haven't been around since 1987. But over the years, kind of went from a full service, did everything sort of shop, and kind of carved out this little niche that we still continue to operate with today, and doing pretty dang good.
Awesome. Okay, so tell me kind of how and why you shifted from general locksmithing into this specific niche field. I'm going to assume that it had something to do with you were able to start cornering and capitalizing on premium work at a higher price rate. So you were able to focus on that, and you had so much of it, you were able to stop doing the general lockouts, the quick set rekeys, and dealing with a lot of the general public, and able to do a lot more business to business commercial work.
Yeah, well, the company this was decades before I existed. The owner of the company at the time was actually very good friends with the best sales rep in town in Atlanta. And this was back in a time when Best didn't sell to locksmiths or distributors. They sold direct. They cut the locksmiths out. And that was the case up until like 08, 09, something like that. And they started working together and doing some projects together. And about a year after this company was founded, lo and behold, this company called Medico pops up. And they reach out to locksmiths around the nation. And this company was one of the first 8 that became a dealer for them, what they call the RBA group. And circumstance, luck, opportunity, preparation, call it what you will, we were able to grow alongside a company like Medico, because as they're making inroads into what was called, I don't know at the time, but now we know it as high security, they were out there doing the work, getting the government contracts, really promoting what it is to be high security. And, since we were a dealer from day one, almost grew alongside them. Right.
And now that company is, synonymous with the locksmith industry. Anytime you hear high security, you're going to hear about Medico. Some of the biggest picking videos. I know Medico used to have like a $100,000 or $1,000. They used to have an unimaginable number prize if you could pick one of their locks at one of the trade shows forever and ever. And then finally somebody did pick it, didn't they?
Yeah, and they made him a sales rep for the New York City market. It was a New York City detective that did it.
Right. So that was their whole claim to fame, is they would bring locks to the show and they would say, look, we'll pay you $1,000 or $10,000 or whatever it is if you can pick one of our locks. And that happened for years and years and years, and nobody was able to do it until finally, of course, like with everything in the security industry, the unpickable lock was picked.
And they put them to work.
And they were smart enough to do so. So that's great. So go ahead and now that we know a little bit about what your business does, so how much Medico work is your company's work right now, percentage wise? 50, 80, 90?
80%.
80%. Okay.
Yeah.
And is that all the high security work you do, or do you work with um, any other high security keyways or manufacturers?
We do a little bit of some end user restricted Everest and a few buildings that have sergeant degree, which
Okay.
basically are Medico knockoffs. They just share the technology.
Okay.
But yeah, primarily Medico, but we do dabble in other things.
Okay. So let's define, so everybody's on the same page here. If we all have different definitions of the word high security, then we're not all going to be on the same page. And one of the biggest things that people confuse with high security is restricted keyway versus high security. So can you tell us the actual definition of a high security key and keyway and locking system and how that differs from restricted keyway?
Well, there is an actual definition. List Council has defined it as a cylinder which offers a greater degree of resistance to any two or more of the following: picking, impressioning, key duplication, drilling, or other forms of forcible entry. I think that's the best definition, but high security kind of has gotten synonymous with UL's 437 listing, which covers that, but not in as few words.
And now, what does that UL listing language say, roughly? Just a general overview. Is that drill resistance?
I don't know if it's language per se. It's just a battery of tests as far as destructive entry. You can use
Picking.
common tools,
Okay.
impressioning, things of that.
So it's in underwriter laboratories, they're going to define and give that rating based off of it held off this type of person for this long. It's a
Yep.
it's a factual tool that's being used, and it's a time frame, right? On how
Correct.
long that time frame is. Now, for me, I personally usually define a high security system or a high security lock as something that has two completely independent different shear lines, such as Medico. You're going to have the pins themselves are going to create their shear line through the Bible of the lock, just like any other pin tumbler lock, but they're also going to have to meet a separate shear line to allow a sidebar to fall into place. And that sidebar would be your secondary shear line that you're going to have to defeat. And that's what makes it more difficult. So if I run a drill straight down, number one, I'm going to run into drill resistance, which is also one of my definitions of high security as well. I'm not going to sell something that I label high security that doesn't have some kind of drill resistance to it. And Medico, with the exception of Keymark, I believe, is all going to come with some kind of drill resistance, right?
Yeah, well, Keymark became X4, so yeah,
Yeah.
the same, much of the same. It's their key control platform.
It's their key control platform. And so that means that you're going to have a key blank that fits. That's going to be patented for whatever that patent's going to be. I don't know exactly how many years, but it's going to be covered under that patent. So nobody else can manufacture the key blanks. And so you're going to get what's called key control, right?
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Yeah.
So
yeah, high security will include key control, but key control will not necessarily always include high security.
right, right. So I'm just kind of listing my checkpoints here that the lock must meet my requirements of high security before I'm going to sell it as such. So it needs to have drill resistance. That means if contractors and stuff, I mean, how much, anybody, just go do a quick Google search on your phone about how to drill a lock. 100,000 videos are going to show up. Okay. And this is not across YouTube. This is across all the social platforms. You can see this on Instagram, TikTok, Facebook, wherever you go, you can find pictures, videos, whatever it is on people, contractors, repo guys, whoever, drilling lock cylinders. And you could probably get a pretty decent idea on how to do that. The general public would be able to watch several videos and probably be able to replicate that fairly easily after a couple tries. So drill resistance is going to be one. So you're going to have hardened inserts in that cylinder that protect both the shear line of the pins in the Bible and one that protects the sidebar as well. So you're going to have two different anti-drill pins that are in that cylinder to kind of ruin people's day for that. The second portion of that is it's got to be a current protected patented keyway, meaning ILCO or any of the other people or anybody for that matter cannot regenerate that keyway without being subject to infringing on the patent and suffer legal consequences for doing so. Is that accurate?
Yeah, and I'll take it a step further, is that some of these, even the patents that have elapsed, like biaxial and original, for example, ILCO and JMA and the rest really aren't considered or concerned with capturing every keyway that's ever been out there. They just want the most popular ones. So if you get a dealer-based keyway, whether it's Medico or Everest or Cabo Peaks, for example, if you've got a dealer-based keyway, the patent runs out, you're still going to be pretty safe because it's only a finite bit of the market. They're not going to bother trying to tool up and make that keyway. So you're not protected by a patent, but more than likely the aftermarkets aren't going to chase it.
Right, right. And that patent is going to buy you that key control for a certain amount of time.
Yeah, typically about 20 years, although I've seen now recently they've been able to get extensions to patents. X4, for example, just got a 3-year extension a few years back. Which I've never seen before, but I guess it's possible. So,
okay. All right. So now that we've defined the high security keyway versus something like a restricted keyway, like something like GMS MX is a restricted keyway that has, but it doesn't have anti-drill features. It doesn't have a patented keyway, so somebody else could regenerate that if they wanted to. But again, like you said, it's got to make financial sense for that company. And really, there's so many MX keyways. There's what, like 15 or 16 of them. They're not going to do 15 keyways to sell, a couple hundred boxes of 250 key blanks. It's probably not going to happen. It'd be a pretty poor business decision as far as I'm concerned. So you got a keyway control. You've got the pick resistance, meaning the pins that actually turn. And for those that are not familiar with Medico's claim to fame, it's their pin system that actually, so in order to increase master keying levels and increase the security, a Medico key will have what's called a center cut, a right cut, and a left cut. Meaning I can have a number 3 depth, for example, but that number 3 depth could be a right, a center, or a left-hand cut, right? Is that accurate?
For the original, and then they kind of mix it up a little bit with biaxial and all the generations after that with a 4.5. So there's 2 spaces per space, if you can think about it that way. So rather than 6, it became 12, or instead of 5, it became 10. And they've kept it that way now with M4, the latest generation. The rules are still the same.
Right, and they did that so that instead of, like, if we have a Schlage, let's say if we have a Schlage system, you've got a Schlage commercial grade system is going to have 6 pins in 0 through 9 depths. And if you're pinning it commercially, you can use 0 through 9, don't violate any max violations. You run a master key system, you'll be able to get roughly how many different combinations through a 6 pin 9 depth system. Just a ballpark number.
5 to the 6th power, whatever that is.
Right. Okay. So now with Medico, what do those extra features that center, right, and left system allow?
Double cuts for one. So you can have 2 different cuts in a top master key, for example. I can have 12 cuts in a top master key. So now I've doubled what I can do. With M3, you had the ability for step sliders, which increase things by a factor of, see, there were 6, so multiple. Now M4, you've got is essentially, it's an Asa twin or a Primus sidebar cut on it. I think now it's up to theoretically 13 billion combinations for an M4.
Right, and so you were taking the Schlage system, which was roughly 1 million different possible combinations, not including max violations. So you're going to have to remove a couple percent out of that. So you're going to have maybe 750,000 different combinations that you could possibly do with that system. With this system, you're talking in the billions.
Yeah, so the way it used to be done before all this stuff got really fancy is they handled it with multiplex key systems where you'd have multiple keyways and then a keyway on top ruling them all. So you can replicate the biddings across the keyways, and now they've just gotten away from that altogether because they've got one key, one profile that can handle it all.
Yes, perfect. Okay.
Which I love, because we have systems that are multiplex and they're a pain in the butt as far as maintaining inventory.
Right, exactly. But that's why they did that, because they needed that capability. So and what does this mean to the locksmith, or what does this mean to the end user? Why would anybody need that many combinations? Well, if you're a nationwide chain company and you want to have one key that can operate all of your banks, ATMs, retail stores, whatever it is, you can have that system. Tyler's company can build you a system that has one great grandmaster key that opens every lock on any facility in the entire country, across multiple states, across city lines, and everything else. And you can have multiple branches on multiple locations on their own master key system, to where one manager can get into everywhere in that location, but no other branches. But the great grandmaster could open that up in, maybe they had to get rid of a manager, or they had to do a takeover or something. You would be able to do that. You've also got skyscraper buildings that have, when you've got 67 floors, and individual businesses or condos or personal apartments or whatever it is on there, and you want to have key control over that. That would be another system where a skyrise building is going to cause different problems than your average strip mall, right?
Yeah. And the thing about, I can't speak for every platform, but for Medico, for example, with the 4.5 cuts, it's a single step progression. So it's not like 0, 2, 4, 6, 8, or 1, 3, 5, 7, 9. It's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So we've had situations where a top master key was lost, and we were able to change, just one cut or one angle. Of course, we had to redo all of the keys, but instead of rekeying the entire lock, we're just doing one chamber.
Right.
You couldn't possibly get that with, just a standard 2-step progression, 6-pin system. It's pretty much going to be exhausted out of the gate.
Yeah. You're gonna have to start over from the beginning. You got to do new master key system right off the beginning. So that, again, is that Medico advantage. That is that high security, premium, top tier advantages. And then, like you said, so just so everybody else is following the rules with this, if you're running a Schlage 6-pin system or a 5-pin system, even doesn't matter, the rules for master keying are that you are not going to go 1 pin depth separation between cuts at a time. To give you an example, a master key can't be 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and then one of your sub keys under that be one number below that. So 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, right? You can't have one number variation. You can't have 15 thousandths variation. You have to have 30 thousandths variation between all pinning combinations. You have to have, so if you have a 3 in one chamber, you either have to drop down to a 2 or you have to jump up to a 5. You cannot do 4, or you can't go one number in either direction. The reason for that is because what will happen is the pin is so thin, the wafer or pin is so thin, that it could possibly get wedged in between the cylinder and the plug, and now you're jeopardizing the system. You're causing foreign debris to get in there. It could get caught. It could bind the cylinder up. And now you've got way more problems than you ever wanted because you didn't follow the rules. What Tyler's saying with Medico is you can do that 1-step progression, meaning if you have the first chamber with a 5 cut, you could do a 4 or a 3 with that master key and have that 1 pin separation in between. Is that accurate?
Yeah. I mean, it can be pulled off too, as well, with Primus and Schlage. Basically what they do is just flip the sidebar.
Yeah.
Different way to do it, but yeah, it's basically the same, but you only get one flip of that sidebar, whereas I've got potentially 12 cuts, 6 angles to play
where
with.
you could, yeah. You've got a larger way to fan that out.
Yeah.
Perfect. So go ahead and tell me about, like, you don't have to get into specifics with customers, but just like what's one of the most recent things that you've done that comes to mind that allows you to put your unique spin on master keying and high security systems? How do you sell it? Who is your typical customer base, and why do they want that system from you?
Well, it's hard to sell high security these days to commercial clients because it's gotten so dang expensive. More than anything now, with Cormax, Peaks, originally Keymark, when those all came on the market, and property managers, chief engineers found out about it. They were like, whoa, we can get the key control, but at like half the price. Yeah, sign us up for that. So I can sell X4, I can sell key control all day. It's very hard to sell high security these days. I mean, the price point's basically double. And it's a hard sell to say, hey, you're getting protection against impressioning, drill resistance, picking, and all of that. There's like, well, I just want the key control.
Right.
So, I mean, I quote them still for the high security options because after the survey, the quantities are still the same. So it takes 5 minutes more to update it in the quote. But I can't remember the last time somebody went with a high security option. More so, they're going for the key control.
Now tell me, how does electronic access play into that? Is that helping? Could you put a spin on it where, hey, you know, you just spent, like, I know for us, you're looking at $4,000 for a single door, electronic access, full blown, plugged in, the whole 9 yards. But to start with one door, power supply, electronic strike, running the wire, doing the whole thing, you're looking at about $4,000. For a double door system, you're looking at almost $5,000. So if they're going to put that expensive of a system on there, and then you're going to put a mechanical key override on that system, and it's just a general common keyway, one of the two most common keyways in the whole North America, which is Schlager Quickset, you've totally and completely voided the point. Like, and I have people do this. I ask them on their phone, this is exactly how we sell this system. Pull up your phone and look up Quickset lock picking, or Quickset bypass, or Quickset lock drilling, or Schleg picking. You're going to get hundreds of thousands of videos. You've got leashy tools out there where somebody can pick and decode and generate a key in no time. And I show them this. I show them videos of me doing it. And really, one of the sales points is I'll actually do it to them on their lock. I'll say, okay, cool. You go over there. I'm going to show you how quick it is for me to make a key to your lock. And I do my little locksmith magic. And of course, they think it's all magic, you know, but I'll do it. And then I'll hand them the key and they'll stick it in, they'll turn it, and they'll be like, wow, that's crazy. Would you like to go with something a little more high security than that? Yes, we would. And then now we're into at least restricted keyway. We're at least going to be selling MX, or we're going to be selling the new Schleg one, the Everest system. So what other techniques do you have to sell that system that complements electronic access?
Well, two things have happened in the last few years that have really done our business model a favor. Number one, this what they call dirt construction or open office floor plans.
Mm-hmm.
People are going away from access control in every door because there aren't many doors left. They don't have individual offices anymore. They have server rooms, they have entries, they have sub entries, and they may have conference rooms, but that's about it. Right. So they put, you know, access control and maybe just the entry points, maybe the IT room, but the rest are left open. So it's a lot easier to sell if I've only got 5 doors as opposed to 50 per suite. The second thing is that with the pandemic, remote working, good or bad, commercial clients don't have much use for Class A real estate anymore. And they've gotten to the point now where they're what they call subleasing, where I've agreed for a 2-year term to occupy 15,000 square feet. Okay, I don't need that anymore. Can I sublease it? Can I lease it out, 7,500 of that to somebody else? Well, okay, that's a new customer. That's a new tenant. That's a new build out possibly. So now I've got a second chance instead of, what was originally 15,000 square feet, maybe 20, 30 locks. Okay, now it could be doubled. This new tenant may have more doors, or at least they're going to need the doors rekeyed, possibly adding a door, something like that. So the world's been crazy the past few years, but it's broken in our favor at least.
Right. Yeah, exactly. Well, that's awesome. We're about 24 minutes in here. So just tell us a little bit more about your business, some tips for people, like if they're not familiar with high security systems, what would you tell somebody that's trying to get into a high security system from the ground floor? What would be the easiest system to get into? What are they going to need to know? What are they going to need to know to maintain it, cut keys, pin up cylinders, and maintain that system, including knowing what those contracts are going to be as well behind closed, behind the scenes?
Well, I'd tell them first and foremost, go to somebody like or somewhere like Locksmith Nation or ClearStar and just ask local people, or even ask locksmiths around the nation what their experience are. For example, if I've got a company willing to give me a 5,000 buy-in, but they give me crap customer service, and a company's saying 10,000 buy-in, but white glove treatment, am I really coming out ahead with that $5,000? Over the life of it, the headaches aren't going to be worth it. The customer support's not going to be worth it. So I'm not here to endorse anybody. I would just say, ask your peers what their experiences are, because at the end of the day, it's all the same listing, the same patents, the same laws, all of that. Find out what your peers have been experiencing and try to mirror that best. If the consensus says this company's great, responsive, small lead times, good pricing, can't beat it. I mean, you can sell it all, whether it's Multi-Lock, Schlage, Medico, ASA, whatever it may be. It's all easy to sell. Some more so than others, like residential versus commercial. But if you're getting good top-notch customer support, good lead times on product, I don't care what the buy-in is. It's worth its weight in gold.
And having the product being able to be sold and distributed, and then being able to supply it. There's nothing worse than selling somebody a $10,000 or $20,000 high security key system, and then 6 months later they want to expand on it. You can't get blanks, you can't get cylinders, you can't get pins, you can't get sidebars, you can't get springs, you can't get all the stuff that you need to build that system out and maintain it. Have you run into that?
We did with the pandemic, but I guess that was par for the course. It was more so materials. Yeah, material supply. Normally it's 4 to 6 weeks from Medico Direct. It went to as much as 12 to 16 at one point. Sweating for key blanks, but we made it through. But yeah, 4 to 6 weeks is the norm. If you're hearing or getting quoted any differently on the onset when selecting a high security brand, look elsewhere.
Okay.
4 to 6 weeks is industry standard. Go with that.
Yeah, right. All right. So we're coming on about 4:30 here. So I'm just going to do a quick little screen share. Can everybody see my screen? Can you see the Loa page here? Uh-oh. I can't hear anybody.
I can see it.
Okay.
can see it.
Good. All right. So if you're not a member of Aloha, definitely check that out. If you are a member, make sure that we're going to the trade show and stuff coming up this summer. Right here, we've got 2023 in Orlando, Florida, August 6th through the 10th. Or no, that's classes. I'm sorry. And then the expo is the 11th through the 12th. So we've got that whole week there of classes. I will be teaching some classes. We're actually going to be teaching some business classes, and we're going to be teaching storefront servicing as well. So go on Aloha's website, sign up for those classes. You do not have to be a member to sign up for classes, but it does save you money. Also, they're going to be shaking things up. There's going to be a lot of improvements this year, so I highly recommend you check that out. The other portion of this is Keydex is one of our sponsors. So I want to mention Keydex. Keydex has an awesome website. George Hill will be able to make sure that he takes care of all of that stuff for you guys. Make sure that your orders are coming in correct. You're probably going to be ordering your Keydex through a supplier. And if you do, just be aware of their products. And some of the main products that I use from Keydex is actually going to be their safe products are great. They've got a couple different tools for that. They've got a lot of dialing transfer devices. They've got, let's see what else they have here. They have drill bits, scope viewer, just all kinds of different stuff. We got a spindle marking tool. Of course, there's the emergency transfer dial right here. So if you have a hole drilled in the wrong spot, that can help you transfer that combination to where it needs to be. Carbide drill bits, just about all the common sizes, 1/4 inch up to 3/8. Looks like they got some 1/8 inch ones too. The little moonlight tool, and one of the tools that every locksmith should have, the K18. Okay, K18 is just magical. It gives you pretty much every change key tool for almost every common safe lock that's been made. Sergeant Greenleaf, McGuard, 3-wheel, 4-wheel. I think there's some Moslers, there's some Diebold's, there's all kinds of stuff on here. But this is, if you do any kind of safe combination changing, this is going to be your magical little tool right here. Okay. So with that, I'm going to go ahead and stop the share there. Make sure you check Aloha out. Make sure you sign up for classes. And then if you check out any Kedex products, I really highly recommend them. I use them myself, and I don't recommend anything that we don't use. Back to the program, go ahead and in kind of wrapping up here, Tyler, and kind of branching off of where we left off, if somebody wanted to start off with a Medico system, what keyway would you recommend they start off with, and what kind of machines would you recommend they get set up with to be able to cut, maintain, and build and design that system?
Well, the good thing about Medico is they do have distributor-based keyways that the distributors share. As far as I know, you don't need any sort of buy-in. It's M3, M4, biaxial, they all have their own. So you can buy direct from a distributor. So maybe 3 to 4 day lead time on it. As far as setting up the system, you know, it's not that hard. Almost every software out there does it these days. So it's kind of hard to go wrong with it. But yeah, there's not much to it. But ideally you want to become a dealer, not necessarily for Medico, but for anybody, so that you're buying direct from the manufacturer and getting the most possible discount. So, you know, if I'm getting from SecLock, they're giving me 50% off lists for terms. But if I buy direct from the distributor, they're giving me 55% off. That's 5% more on my profit margin. So test the waters, yeah, with distributors and distributor-based keyways. But if you find out you like it and that's what you want to go with, and you have good luck selling it, might as well get set up direct and start getting that extra profit margin. And then on top of that, once they start knowing you, the sales agents run through the shop and talk to you on a routine basis, they'll actually start referring work to you. So
we've had that happen too, where, you know, we've worked with like a Legion or Primus or whoever, and then all of a sudden, hey, we're in a remote area, we've got this school district, or we've got this high rise, or we've got this contractor job, or we've got this job with the city or a police department, and we need somebody. Their product, a quality product installed improperly is a crappy product. A quality product installed with quality is a quality product. Okay, you can take a good product and you can install it improperly, and it's a crap product. It's not going to last as long as they say it is. It's just not going to work out as well as people think that it's going to. So the manufacturer wants to get a qualified technician out there, an actual locksmith, an actual technician, an actual installer that understands the alignment of the door, that understands what it means when something doesn't fit together perfectly, and doesn't try and force things, and understands how the hardware works, right? So you're doing them a favor by doing that quality installation and that professional installation. They're going to turn around and kick work back to you as well. So that's an excellent point to make.
They'll help you out if you're new to the game. Let's say you've only done 2-level systems, maybe 10, 15 doors, but now you're a Schlage dealer or an ASA dealer or a Medico dealer, and you got an opportunity to quote 50, 100 doors. They'll send a sales rep out there to spec the job with you, provide instruction and guidance. And all the manufacturers, all the big high security ones, they have master key departments and software and gurus on hand. They'll make the system for free. They're not going to charge you for it. So if you're set up with them, you use that to your advantage.
Now, let me tell you what somebody is probably saying listening to this right now. If I bring the manufacturer out and I involve them on one of my jobs, couldn't they just take the job from me and sell and direct? What's your thoughts on that? I have mine. I'll answer mine after yours.
I can only speak for Medico. They've never done that to us. In fact, our second biggest customer they gave us. Yeah. And they're trying to give us a very big facility in South Georgia right now, kind of like you're doing us a favor if you take it on, because they've got Medico on property and nobody's available to service it. And we don't want to see our product go away. Will you service it? So, I mean, I guess that for their standpoint is, we don't want our competitor to move in and get market share, right, or, that cash flow to stop coming in from that one facility. So they're looking for people to take care of their customers, even though not direct. So
Yes.
I can't speak for Allegiant. I can't speak for Dormicaba, anybody else. I just know my experience with Medico, contrary, they've wanted us to have customers, not taking them from us.
Yes. Yep. That's the exact same experience that we've had as well. Through Allegiant, through whoever we've worked with. As soon as we get the manufacturer involved, they take on the brunt of the work. They know the part numbers. They know how to read blueprints. There's people that are hired on those teams, like you said, master key designers. You don't even have to have a master keying software program. If I've got a Medico customer, I can tell them, hey, we've got, M4 on all of these doors, and we need to redo a master key system here. You call them up, call your contact or your rep or whoever it is. They'll get you in contact with the right people. They'll send the master key system over, and you'll be ready to rock and roll. And that's time off of your plate that you can go and spend making more money and bidding more jobs and, bringing more income in for the business. So really, it's an untapped resource that a lot of people don't use and are afraid to use. But I want to put it out there that there's nothing to be afraid of. I would highly encourage using the manufacturer to help you out with that. So let's see so what about key machines? Like if somebody was just going to start running Medico systems, what key machines would you recommend for that? Like just basic, get started with it.
Well, just like Schlage and ASA, basically more than likely what you have already set up or what you have on hand can cut it. I think you really only run into needing dedicated key machines these days with somebody like an Abloy or a Multilock, where it's just so far fetched out of there from the norm in America, at least, where an ITL or an HPC can't cut it. But there's a good chance that if you're selecting a high security platform, that whatever you have on hand, the machine manufacturer, doesn't matter, that more than likely it's capable of doing it. So that's, minimal investment out of the gate. So basically all your buy-ins just going to be key blanks and inventory. So can't beat that.
If you've got an HPC Blitz or a Freeman, you're going to be good to go in most cases. Now, one thing that I would add to that is as soon as you start working in the high security field, because those tolerances are much tighter and because you can do one-step master keying, you're going to have to make sure that your key machine is cutting very accurately, or you're going to have problems. So I would make sure that that thing is dialed in. I would make sure you get it dialed in and adjusted and do everything and make sure that it is cutting absolutely as close to perfect as you could possibly get that thing. Get it serviced, get it calibrated, get everything going before you start maintaining or cutting your high security system. Because I hear from some guys, hey, I cut like 17 Medico keys and like 3 of them work. Did you calibrate your machine before you got started? Did you check it? Did you make sure it's calibrated correctly? Is it accurately cutting? No, it's not. Okay, it's not the system, it's your machine.
Yep. And keep up with the cutting wheels is basically all I can offer.
Yeah, fresh, nice cutting wheels. Don't cheap out on this stuff. So what kind of profit margins? Let's look at this from a business standpoint. Why would somebody want to take on high security? How is that going to benefit their business and their bottom line? Because at the end of the day, why am I going to reach out and do this and take on this new project and get some education and learn about this system and take on the complexity of building, maintaining, and servicing a complex system like a high security keyway if it's going to affect my bottom line? How can people make money with these systems?
Sell them. The profit margins are astronomical. The list price right now for a Medico high security cylinder right now is $190.91. You come out of the gate, dealer-based keyway, something like that, you're going to get at least 50%. So what are we talking? $95.46, something like that per cylinder you sell,
right?
Plus labor to pin it up, plus keys.
Versus something that would be restricted, like, like I said, MX. And I'm not saying that those systems aren't bad, and I carry those systems on the truck. Not everybody is going to be able to afford $200 a cylinder. Some people, that's just not in their budget, right?
Okay, yeah. And so you go to X4 list price for a mortise cylinder, 1/8", $132.47. Profit margin of at least $61.23, something like that.
Right.
Plus keys, plus labor to pin it.
And then now, once they have that system installed on the building, now they're going to be locked into that. The customer has two choices. They can either call you back, or they can trash the system, get rid of it, and order all new locks, which is again going to be expensive, right?
That's the secret. No pretty way to say it. They are locked into you, and they will never trash the system. They will never swap out plugs, keyways. It is cost prohibitive. They're just going to have to swallow it and bite the bullet if they don't like working with you. Or what we've encountered in the past is a new chief engineer, property manager will come in and they've got a locksmith they want to use, but they don't realize that the whole property is under a dealer-based keyway that we have control over. Medico's not going to reassign that as long as we're providing service.
Mm-hmm.
So they just going to have to bite the bullet, and they're, they make a fuss out of it out of the gate, but over time they come to learn and they actually become some of your biggest allies.
Right. Yeah. And what it also prevents is, how many times have we run into the situation where you go rekey a system, it's a common KW or SC keyway, and what happens? One of the tenants who doesn't understand the lease calls Joe Schmo the locksmith, and I'm sorry if there's anybody out there named Joe Schmo, but I'm just going to use you as an example. And they come in, and now they rekey that lock, and they dump it out, and they say, look at all these funny extra little pins that came out of the top. That's fun. Gone. Pin, pin, pin. And now that cylinder is no longer on the keyway. What happens the very following day? It gets below freezing and a pipe bursts, and maintenance goes there and sticks their master key in there and tries to get into that unit, and they can't get in, right? So now they either have to trash the lock, call a locksmith, break down the door. I've seen all of those scenarios play out quite literally. And then they call back and they're like, hey, why wasn't this on our system? Let's take it apart. Let me see the key. That key is not in our system. That's not my key. You were serviced by somebody else. And because you have a common keyway, they just serviced that cylinder and didn't know that it was on a master key system until it was too late. And they just didn't tell you. They knew. When you pull the keys out, you know when you've ran into a master key system. Most common locksmiths with integrity will put that back together, and they will tell the customer, you need to talk to the person who controls the master key system with this, because if we do it, it's going to take it off of the system. Now, once you give that information out there, they may not have been able to get a hold of their locksmith, right? They may need it and it be in an emergency and a bind where they just need this fixed now, and they'll contact the person with the master key system and have it put back on it later, but they have an emergency, they have to deal with that. When you're on a high security keyway, this is how it's going to play out. Instead of that other scenario where other locksmiths start dabbling in it, they're going to come out and they're going to say, this is a high security restricted keyway system. I don't even have the key blanks for this. You're going to have to contact whoever maintains your system. They're not even going to get the chance to take the lock apart to dump your system unknowingly. Therefore, when it dips below freezing and there's a pipe burst and the guy comes in with the master key the next day, the door will open and they'll be able to save tens of thousands of dollars worth of damage, right? Can you relate to any of these, scenarios that I've put before you? Have you actually had any experience with that, Tyler?
No, not firsthand, but I know how adverse when people around here, at least in the Atlanta market, they see a Medico, they just like, oh, no, I don't want to touch it. But yeah, you're right. Even if they wanted to service it, they couldn't. They'd have to replace it with something generic or their own. And like you said, AHJ walkthrough, something like that. You don't have immediate access to this store. Why not? That dings them hard. So it bodes well for us.
Absolutely. Absolutely. All right. Well, we've got quite a bit of information out there. Do you have any last wrap-up words or anything that you would tell people, your experience with Medico or high security systems in general? Just any general advice to anybody who's on the fence about tackling a restricted keyway or a high security system of their own? Tips, tricks, techniques, things to look out for, etc.
I would just say don't be discouraged out of the gate. So every system we generate, we apply what they call a registry number. That's the way Schlage, Medico, everybody does it. And it's funny looking through our registries, they're all little tiny folders for the first 291 systems we ever touch. That means that it's like a 2-level system, probably 10, 20, 30 locks at most.
Right. The
291th is like the biggest the company had ever done up to that point. And that was 75. So 7 years of trying to make it before we got the first big one. And then if you were to lay all these files out, row to row, and they're in Fire King cabinets now. You see a ton of little ones at the beginning. And then as you go, you find a big one, and then another big one, and another big one. And at the tail end now, all of them are big ones. So don't be discouraged out of the gate, either high security or master key systems. This company, it took 291 of them before we got our first big one.
Right.
And now it's like par for the course. Now it's normal.
Now it's normal, but you had to get those little ones, and you got practice on those little ones, and you started building your brand and started experimenting with how to sell it. You know, one of the easiest ways, here's how I'll tell somebody how to sell high security locks right out of the gate. You can do this trick or tip or sales tactic with storefront, you know, commercial application or a residential application. Is you have a quick set lock on the truck or a Schlage lock, whichever one you choose, just something from the hardware store, and you have that in your hand and you hand it to them, and you hand them a Medico, an ASA, a multi-lock, any of it. That high security lock is going to weigh 2 to 3 times as much as the common hardware store lock. In fact, you're going to even see where the common hardware store lock actually figures out ways to take material out of the lock and out of the housing to make it weaker. And the other ones are solid. It's a solid brass ring. It's a solid steel inner core. It's solid everywhere, all the way around. And you just tell them, here's the Kia, here's the Mercedes, right? Here's the Kwikset, here's the Medico. And right away, they will have a physical way to connect in their brain that links up with their eyes, their hands, their senses, and they can tell which one the more quality unit is.
Yeah, and then on top of that, some of well, I guess starting with probably Multi-Locks Interactive or Abloy's ProTech too, they started incorporating interactive elements, movable elements.
Yeah.
And I don't know if they were planning for it at the time, but now it protects against 3D printing.
Yes.
So that's a hell of a selling point. And then number two, that key's gnarly looking. So people are like, what the hell is this? And you're like, that's quality.
Yes, it looks like it starts a spaceship or something, right?
Yeah.
And then you can tell them like, hey, here's a Medico key. That's the second portion of it. Here's the Medico key. Look, you can see the different angles cut on this. You can take this, and I'll show them a video where I've done this. You can take this to your local key kiosk that are set up everywhere, and everybody hates these little minute key boxes all over the place, right? And it won't copy it. It'll say, we cannot copy this. We don't have the blanks for it. And so you can have your key back, and we're not going to copy that. And then I stick a do not duplicate key in there, and I say, watch this. It says do not duplicate. That is a robot. It doesn't care what it says. It can't read. Here's your key for your do not duplicate key. And then you put it in their lock. It turns it. You say, that's why we sell high security, and that's why it costs 3 times as much. Right then and there, you're going to know whether that customer is going to be invested and want to put up the money and be able to invest in that system, or they're just not interested. And if they're not interested, that's fine too. But if they were interested, that is the sales point as to where they would turn over from a prospect into a customer at that point in time.
Yep.
Perfect.
I would say one other thing too is that, we're not seeing that we can sell it a lot in Class A real estate anymore, commercial at least, but high-end residential still buys high security like crazy.
Yep.
So.
Yeah. Investment properties, Airbnb, you want to lock off a room, you want to lock off a cupboard, you want to lock off an area. This is something that's going to do it. And usually they have kids or family or relatives that they let stay there, but they want them to stay out of the room with guns, alcohol, whatever they have in there, or just personal items. It's going to keep them out of there a whole lot better. And they're not going to be able to watch a video and find, 10,000 videos how to easily pick that lock with a paperclip, right?
Yep.
All quality selling points. Perfect. All right, so with that, we'll go ahead and open up the floor for discussion. Anybody that has questions, Mark Dawson, go ahead. Sir, you have your hand up.
Hey, Tyler, good to see you again. Happy belated birthday.
Thank you, sir.
And thank you for your partnership. I know you do a lot of bank work, and you've partnered with my company here in Southeast Texas to represent you, and it's been a great partnership. In the FDIC guidelines for banks, they mention the word tamper-proof locks. And there's no official description or definition of what a tamper-proof lock is. So I've had to kind of go on the fly and tell them, no, they're not referring to a high security lock, but at least something that's difficult to pick, has some other thing like Everest or like an X4 or something like that. How have you done so well with the banks that you have selling the X4 system to them?
kind of the same thing. It's that question has been broached before, but mainly X4. So high security, a lot of high security platforms don't lend themselves to small format. They're just too large. And it seems like a lot of what we've encountered after the fact was already prepped for best because they had such great inroads for decades. So we came after the fact and we were able to say, hey, look, we've got a key control product that I think that will satisfy what your security department is looking for. And we don't have to change the locking hardware to do it. And then you do that at 1, you do that at 2, and then all of a sudden now they expect that's the normal for 5, 6 states, you know? So yeah, to go back to what you were saying, yeah, I don't know what it means either, but we've satisfied it with at least the explanation of X4 patented key control. There's a second element there via the slider, and they've been fine with it. But I mean, it kind of goes back to what Wayne and I were talking at the beginning. What is high security? So yeah, that was a good question.
I have a local bank that I've been doing work for 25 years now, and I cannot get traction with them in any way to improve exterior security of their branches. And they're local to the Houston market. They're headquartered here and they've branched out into other areas. And I've met with loss prevention. I've met with senior managers. 20 years ago, I met with ownership of the bank. And they just, I mean, they've got SC4, I mean, Yale, just standard key systems on their bank branches. And I can't get them off of it.
Yeah, we well, you know, the branch or the bank that we were working with that took over the bank that was in Texas, and yeah, it was the same thing there. No sense of security, key control whatsoever, kind of a grab bag every branch. And I guess unfortunately that's just the way it is with some people. You just kind of hope that you're around when the right property manager or chief engineer comes in that says, no, this is not how we're going to do it anymore. Who's your locksmith? And yeah, well, Mark shows up. I've got the answer for you right now.
Yeah, thank you.
Mark, I've also been working with, I target jewelry stores specifically to get into their safe opening, moving, preventative maintenance, and just everything dedicated to that safe. And I've had several people actually approach me and say that our insurance not only requires that we have this TL30X6 safe, they actually require us to have UL listed high security locks on the door. And that's right there. As soon as the insurance company makes it mandatory, all of a sudden they have to comply. So maybe finding a way to involve the insurance company, get a hold of the insurance company, maybe asking a branch manager what their insurance requirements are for those entry locking doors could be a window into opening that up. One other option you could do is just stop offering the SC4 option. If you would like us to rekey the exterior of your bank, we will sell you Medico X4 series locks or whatever you choose to sell. And this is how much it's going to cost to get it set up with that system. One of two things will happen. They'll either say, okay, yeah, whatever, go ahead and begin doing it. Or you might lose that customer over it. But hey, are you really making any money rekeying that lock for $35 every time you do it? Or do you want to push that higher system and narrow your customer base down to that cream of the crop customer who wants to invest in that security? Those would be a couple ways that I would deal with it personally if it were my company.
Yeah, the underwriter tactic is well known by good business owners, where you approach people based on their liabilities and what are you really investing to protect your property. When I sell safes on my showroom floor, it's the same thing. You're trying to protect $250,000. You don't have to spend 10% of that to do that. That would be $25,000 safe.
Yep.
You don't have to have a $25,000 safe to protect $250,000.
Right.
So it works in all aspects.
Yeah, definitely.
There still is a balance, though, on commercial properties. A bank is just a building, and if you overkill the door with a piece of hardware to prevent someone from coming through the cylinder, they'll just go through the glass. And so the smash and grab kind of people, it doesn't prevent them from anything in reality. So the LP groups look at that as a risk taker and saying, well, why should we invest a lot more in areas that it may not make a whole lot of difference?
Right. Yeah, I mean, there's a whole bunch of different ways to look at it. You put good locks on it, well, now they're gonna smash through the glass. Okay, if they smash through the glass, well, we put AR2 polycarbonate on there. It's practically indestructible. How far do you want to go before we've now put a multi-point, Securitech vault locking style door on the building, right? There's a happy medium in between there. But I think as security professionals, we should all really be encouraging all of our customers to move away from a KW or an SC common keyway. Even Schlage has come out with Everest to just say, hey, this keyway's been around for so long. We as the manufacturer really deem this as no longer secure with all of the pre-cut keys that are just put out through hardware stores, right? I think there's a happy medium in between there where, to Mark's point, at least getting to a restricted keyway system is headed in the right direction, or something that's keyway controlled, patented, something that's not quite so common. And then to John's point, jumping all the way up to installing a multi-point vault door with high security X10 government rated lock on there. There is a happy medium in between. And if we are dealing with a bank or somebody that is more than just a regular common, retail store, especially when they have customer information available there, such as credit checks, social security numbers, and overall general customer information that could be then utilized, hacked, and taken from them, such as a medical facility or a bank. Those kind of places is where we'd really push to see that happen. And that's where the customer is really going to rely on their locksmith or their security professional to let them know what their options are. Do we have any other questions, comments, concerns for Tyler, myself, or anybody else here? You can raise your hand or unmute your microphone if you would like.
It is
Okay.
wise to note that the consumer really doesn't have a good handle on what security is. I was in a prosecutor office in the county a couple of days back, and some of their confidential material is just behind a T100A or 100T Timberline cylinder. Everybody has access to it, or just a good yank would open up the cabinet.
Exactly. And that's our job. And there's a fine line between selling and forcing. There's a fine line between informing and pushing, and there's a way to do it. And that's why you'll notice every single one of the reasons that I give, I'll usually let the customer do the search. You have this quickset lock on your door. Do a quick search on how easy it is to pick or bypass this lock. And then I'll show them. There are 37,000 videos free to the public, to anybody, to an ex-boyfriend, girlfriend, stalker, whoever it may be, that have access freely to this information at any point in time. And it is actually accurate for the most part. And are you comfortable with that? Now that you know, are you committed to that? Is that what you're relying on to keep you and your family safe at night? Is that what you are relying on to keep your store and your jewelry and your bank and your customers' information safe at night? If that's your call and that's the decision you want to make, well, then that's the decision that you're going to have to make. Everything is designed to be in layers in this industry. You've got security as a layer. You've got physical security, high security locks, keys, etc. Then you have alarm systems, ways to survey that system, camera systems, right? That's another layer that we put on top of it, alarming, and then cameras on top of that, having a visual aspect onto it as well. And then you could add an armed guard. You could add, you could keep adding to those layers of security until you, as the customer, feel secure, knowing the hazards and the potential hazards out there, and the solution to those hazards as well, and the probability of those hazards coming to fruition, right?
I've got a question for Tyler if he's available.
Go ahead.
Hey, Tyler, so you talk about executing a site survey whenever you're building out your key chart or plan. Are you importing that into a specific software, or do you maintain the actual floor plans in your database, and you know where keys are issued and what doors and at what levels? Do you design it that way, or is it just a records keeping of AA1, AA2, kind of a more traditional format?
We have a software where every time we survey any lockable opening, we assign a 4-digit code, 001, or 0001 all the way to 9999. Never gotten that high. But yeah, that corresponds to a description of the door, DHI description to and from, whether the door opens in or out. Kind of best we can do as far as door description, open office to office 1501, something like that. A model number, specifically the lock model number. For example, L9453 tells me it's a Schlage L9000 entrance function with a bolt. Finish, key set, miscellaneous line where we can put whatever we want in there. Like, for example, if it has 2 locks on it. And then finally, last touch invoice. So there's 6 lines that we attach to every lockable opening to track it that way. And then
Is that sorry, is that a proprietary software you have developed, or is that something that's commercially available?
proprietary, but I believe when it was around Keystone, Best made a Keystone software, which now I believe is online, kind of web-based. I believe it does the same thing. Now it doesn't print out the stickers and item numbers, what we call them, as far as I know, but we've got, actually, hold on for a second. Let me grab one.
While we're on the subject of Master Keying, HPC Master Keying does some good software. Harvey, you've got a system out there. Is it RabbitSoft? I'll let you talk about that here in just a second. You can go next.
Okay.
Yeah, so this is what the stickers look like, Guy. You just pull them off, you put them on the middle or top hinge. It's got a 4-digit number. So when the customer calls in and says, hey, I need this door rekeyed, I need HR rekeyed. Now, I don't know what HR is. Tell me the 4-digit number. Send it to us. Now we know everything about that door. We can pull all the information up and get started that way.
Does that answer your
So,
question?
and you're, yeah, well, it's a good start for sure. The survey, are you physically flying out and conducting or sending somebody out to do it, or do you guys contract that out, like have a local locksmith come and do a survey?
Out of state will subcontract. In state will go, whether it's 4 minutes or 4 hours.
Yeah, cool.
Tyler, you also, if I'm not mistaken, you have a method of taking surveys. Don't you record them as well as write them while you're
Yeah,
going through?
I'll
You might
write
want
them.
to say, you might want to mention that because it's a interesting concept.
Yeah, it's in the back office. Otherwise, I'd grab it. I voice dictate while I also write. So, in case my brain's catching one thing at one time while I'm writing, I can voice dictate, and then I'll play it back. And as I'm transposing it into the software, I'll listen to it. It's like a $90 device at Best Buy. It's a hell of a way to do a survey. Even if you don't want to write, you can just dictate the entire time.
Yeah, there's quite a few different ways to do that. And then John and I have a really cool system called Company Cam. We can actually take pictures and video directly through the app. We can name the doors. We got a little label maker. So just like you're doing your labels or whatever, pop it right on the hinge side there. This door is now identified. It's identified with the maintenance personnel, the top maintenance personnel, the lead general maintenance person there, whoever you're going to be dealing with. We walk through the whole building, we identify every single door, and then we either identify a list that we're going to fix on that door if they're fire doors to get them back in compliance, or if they're master key systems or they need programming or whatever they need, we'll build that whole system through the Company Cam app. And then we can actually give them access to it to where they can make notes. You can make notes. So a perfect example is door 101 3B needs to be rekeyed. Okay, we're going to go ahead. We'll send a cylinder out to that location. It's going to be rekeyed. We can actually put notes on there. This door was rekeyed on this date. Here's the pictures before and after. And then everybody, us, the user, and the person that hired us can all have access to that information, and they can write, yes, confirmed, it's working and everything's working moving forward. And now it's a manageable, it's like a live, if you will. We can maintain it moving forward. So keep in mind that there are apps and programs that are beyond pen and pencil or just a simple spreadsheet that can help you and assist you with these projects. And when you get into hotels, like we're doing service contracts with hotels. We're doing, $10,000 contracts with them to just come out twice a month and fix fire doors and fix problems that they don't want to have to deal with because their staff doesn't know how and they don't have the manpower to do it. So apps like that are going to be real helpful in situations like this. Did he answer all of your questions, Sky?
I have way too many questions for anyone to answer them all, but I appreciate
Okay.
the info.
Sounds good. All right. With that, Harvey, go ahead and tell us about RabbitSoft.
Well, RabbitSoft has got roughly 9 different master keying programs. The least expensive one is Faster Master Lite. It's basically a very simple 4-level master key system. You pick the manufacturer, you put in the master key and or control key if necessary, and it'll ask you how many masters you want under the grand, if you need submasters underneath any of the masters, and then it calculates how many change keys are available. You plug that in, and it just generates the system. Faster Master is a multiple level master key system. It generates every key in the system, including all of the incidental ghost keys. And I do say that loosely as ghost keys, the incidental master keys, so that you can actually master key, cross key without stacking chambers in most cases. Then there's Faster Master 2 Pro, which is based upon Faster Master, but it also permits you to track the issuance of keys by employee. It tracks doors, the hardware that's on the doors. It also tracks GSA containers, lets the locksmith know when the particular container may need to have the combination changed, either every 3 months, 6 months, whatever the customer requires. Then there's Faster No Master, which is specifically designed for interchangeable core. It gives you, it asks you how many change keys you want. And for every change key, there's a control key, and they're all different. And then there's Faster No Master 2, which is basically the same thing, except that, again, there's no master key. It's one control key with a whole bunch of change keys. And then I also have some software specifically designed for, that was originally designed for Cal Royal locking hardware. It's called Combi and Combi Pro. Combi is a system, it's a, let's see, how do I put it? It's a master key system specifically designed for their cylinders, where they have Corbin, Russwin, Schlage, Sargent, Yale, and Best interchangeable core all under one key blank, but they have multiple keyways. And that's the Combi system, which is all interchangeable core. And Combi Pro is the same thing, but it also has for tracking the issuance of the keys and the doors, etc. And some of the customers that are using the software, Walt Disney Company in Burbank, the Spaceship Company in Mojave is running it. Let's see, the Los Angeles County Medical Center for USC is running the software. And my website is www.rabbitsoft.us if anybody's interested in perusing the software, prices, and some of my existing customers.
All righty, thank you very much. So if you guys need help with master keying, I get asked all the time, what kind of software do you use? What can we, what's the best system out there? What systems are available? What are the price points? Harvey's got a great system.
One other thing, I pride myself in my customer service. If you have a
Absolutely.
question, whether it's regarding my software, or if you have a question on master keying off of the software, I'm as close as the email or as close as the telephone.
Perfect. Very good. Sounds good. So if anybody's interested, right there is a perfect option for you to get your master keying software.
I will post the website in the chat box.
Perfect. Go ahead and do so. All righty. Any other questions, comments, concerns? Joshua Sands, you've been poking some stuff over there in the comment section. You want to jump on?
Hey, yeah, how you doing?
Good.
Yeah, no, everything with the way our smart systems are going nowadays, you can integrate UL listed high security systems with UL listed alarm systems to completely fulfill these insurance requirements. And we talked about not being scared of the high security systems. Don't be scared of low voltage either. Some states require licensing, some jurisdictions have it. It's just a simple class away. Just get out there, educate yourself, give the customer a total package, and then the days of the $30 rekeys will soon be in your rearview mirror.
Yep, exactly. So, all righty. Any other
Ty-
questions, comments, concerns?
Tyler, you're the spotlight feature tonight. So since you also do the end user, but you also cater to other locksmiths, and I know you're super busy already, but what type of business are you looking for from us? When would we call you? What would we call you for?
I love it when people get big master key jobs and they don't have the time to do it. It may take them 2 or 3 weeks in their shop to do it, and they just rather drop ship it to me. Schley, Best, Medica, whatever it may be, and just tell me to rekey it because I can dedicate some time to the shop guys to do it, and that's guaranteed income. I love doing stuff like that. We don't like going out of the office. We like staying in the office and doing work. So anytime something like that can happen, we love it.
When AKS or other companies like that offers similar things, would you be compatible to those for us?
Cheaper.
Oh, good to know.
Great. Any other questions, comments, concerns? Thank you for the input, John. Well, your questions are always extremely knowledgeable and add value, and somebody else is probably thinking them and just not asking them. So we appreciate you jumping in and participating. Any other questions, comments, concerns?
I'd just like to tell Tyler, I don't want to leave the office, especially today. It's over 100 degrees here.
It's nice to sit in there and pin all day, isn't it? In the AC, send a text out, huh?
I'm at home already.
Yep, exactly. Good stuff. All righty. Well, with that, we're going to go ahead and wrap it up unless anybody has any last minute emergency stuff they want to say or talk about. We've had a good, slightly over an hour conversation. Thank you, Tyler. We appreciate every time you come on. We appreciate your time as a guest. John, thank you for your questions. Mark, Harvey, thanks for explanation on MasterKey software. And Guy, thank you for your questions. And we'll see you next week. This meeting is every Monday, 4 p.m. Mountain Standard Time. We had about 18 people here today, and so that's good. It's here for you. It doesn't cost you anything, okay? You can just sit here, you can learn, you can ask questions. If it's a topic that you're interested in, stick around and hang out, learn how to make more money for your company, your business, and become more valuable to your association, your company, your own personal business, whether you're a one-man shop or whether you work for a multi-van conglomerate. So enjoy, have a great day, and with that, we'll wrap it up.